Everyone had a great time listening to Jeff Skiles as he told the story of landing on the Hudson River. And I know we all remember that. So let's go listen to Jeff and a lot of other great people right now.
To Lorain County Regional Airport today. Jim, I tried calling, contacting, emailing. I'd like to thank all my chapter leaders from other chapters that are here. Without us coordinated efforts to get the word out and get people more interested and involved in aviation, we wouldn't even be here. I know that Lisa's here from chapter 50. Lisa. I'm sorry, 1247. I'm here from chapter 50. Ben. Do we have some? Jim, chapter 127, based right here at Lorain County Airport, is here. Jim, thank you. And I know I'm for Tim, all the way from the east side. How's the weather over there? Is it snowing? I know. We thought we'd have this event in March because the weather was kind of like supposed to break and everything. And it didn't. So, in MRK Aviation, they're supplying the facility for us today. We were going to do it in our hangar, but unfortunately, we would never fit all you guys. You've been sitting outside in your car, hanging out. But it's good to have you here. We're here for many reasons. I'm here because in 1992, I went to my first EAA event in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I was a bartender and running auto parts. And I said to myself, I'm like, wow, this is cool. The people are cool. I can do this. And 15 years later, I had a career at ExpressJet Airlines, 10,000 hours in my logbook, and I thought I'd never get here and have those kind of times. But it all started because of EAA. We've seen a lot of kids get introduced to aviation, and then we help them, mentor them, nurture them, and turn them into pilots. One of our youngest EAA members is Mackie Kiesel, and he's also a Young Eagles pilot. He's down at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University right now in Daytona. We hate him, but we love his parents. They've been very supportive, and look what we do. That's just a little part of what we do. You guys are out there doing the same thing we do, but the stories are endless, and without you guys' support, we could not do that. Just one quick cheap plug. Discover Aviation Days is going to be Memorial Day weekend. I know it's kind of a holiday weekend for everybody, but it's going to be really, really great this year. Not only do we have a night air show, day air show, we're having a night air show. It's all about kids. There's going to be multiple different worlds. It's very Disney-like. There's going to be entertainment events, and it's all to get that young person excited for the same reasons that we were once excited and followed our dreams to this point right here in this room. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for my cheap time to plug. Now it's Gary Baker's turn. Gary? Oh, I forgot. EA Chapter 1252 is here, by the way. Where are you? If you're a Chapter 1252 person, stand up. I love you guys. Who wants to be president next year? If I didn't tell you, I got the best chapter in the world. I don't care what the rest of your presidents say. They are great. There's a case of beer in my hangar for all of you later.
Thank you, Paul. My name's Gary Baker, president of Chapter 846 down at Sky Park. There we go. Got that down. And we've got about 40 members or so, give or take a few. We are primarily a building chapter as opposed to some other chapters that are more social. We've got about 20 plus projects underway, and many of our members are repeat offenders, as the RV builders among us like to say. So if you're so inclined, please feel free to join us. I've got my business cards in the back. I've also had some of our newsletters are back there, and if you like, give me your information, your email information. We'll get you on our mailing list. I'd like to also thank Paul and Vicki for primarily setting this up. So if I could ask a round of applause for them. They provided the food and made the arrangements for us to use the hangar here. So I come here to listen to Paul and me, so I'm going to introduce you to Fred. Is he coming back? Here we go. And Jeff Skiles.
This is what happens when you're the production crew, too. My name is Jeff Skiles, and I work at EAA. I'm the Vice President of Communities and Member Programs, and I like to explain that. I was at one of these events, actually, where I was explaining that, and I told the person that they asked me, what is that? And I said, well, I'm in charge of pretty much everything that's not AirVenture. And I brought with me today is Brett Steffen. Over here to my left, he's going to be doing part of the presentation. And Brett is the Director of Education at EAA. If you got any complaints, Brett is right here.
I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that EAA does for its members. And obviously the first thing I'd like to touch on here is the publications. This is a copy of the very first publication put out by EAA. So that was The Experimenter, 1953. Obviously things have come a long way since then. We now have about 60 years of publishing in our, repertoire, and so we create now a variety of publications. The flagship is, of course, Sport Aviation. How many people read Sport Aviation every month? Fantastic, and you get to read Jeff's articles, and he does a nice job in his column, as well as just a tremendous number of others that kind of vary between all sorts of different interests in aviation. One of the other areas that I have some involvement in, and Jeff looks over as Vice President of Member Programs, is our museum. How many folks have been to the museum at Oshkosh? Good, so almost most of you, at least half of you. Museum started off as the Air Education Museum in Hales Corners, and we moved then in 1983 to Oshkosh and built this fabulous facility, which is our World War II aircraft. Across the grass runway from the EAA headquarters building is Pioneer Airport, and we have a number of hangars there full of vintage aircraft. Leaders and ask them to show that at your chapter meetings. This is intended as a chapter tool, and it's there to help chapters, help to give them things to fill in any gaps that they might have in their chapter meetings. And so they're finding all sorts of ways to use those. The other thing that EAA has really developed over the years are our communities. And so we have a number of kind of branches of EAA essentially. And many of you, I'm sure, are either members of or part of these communities. And some of them are separate memberships and some of them aren't. Home Builds is, basically if you've ever had the dream of building an airplane in your basement, you belong here. I know Jeff has a few stories too about Paul, so I'll turn things over to him for a few questions.
He had, his office was a little place down by the by the Red Barn, for those of you who camp, and on the grounds. And you know, the first time I went down there, shortly after I was hired, I mean, obviously I talked to Paul, you know, in passing as a Young Eagles co-chairman with Sully, but first time I went down there, I realized that this man was just a wealth of information about this organization. In order to help the passengers that were slipping off the wings. There are almost too many boats. I remember at one point there was one of them that was threatening to actually go across the wing and you know, knock all the passengers into the water. I became obsessed with the fact that this boat was actually tethered with a rope to this airplane that could sink at any moment. And someplace in this raft, there's an emergency knife, a safety knife, specifically to cut that rope. But this raft was way overloaded. There was no way I was going to be able to find where that knife was, just because there was no room to even move around. So Sully called up to one of the boats that was overhead, and a crewman dropped a knife to him. And he passed it to me, where I was in the raft, and I punched the button, and the blade comes popping out. It was like a New Jersey switchblade. And of course, I'm holding this knife in an inflatable raft. I realized that it was just plain too dangerous, and I just threw the raft, or flew the knife into the water.